This video is brought to you by Robinhood, the investment brokers that let you buy stocks, ETFs, and cryptocurrencies all commission free. There's still time to take advantage of this historic 2020 stock market crash, and if you sign up using the link in the description below, you'll instantly receive one free stock without even depositing a single penny. No, this still isn't my real portfolio, but I have added to it a bit, like the stock on your screen. That's Cody. They make like makeup, Revlon, stuff like that. What's up, YouTube? Capital G here. Got some fossilized action for you guys to check out in this video. I've seen other archetypes combine with these new fossil cards, and in this duel you guys are going to see shadows. I think I actually saw that before on Lithium's channel, but this one has a little bit of that spicy secret sauce that is gonna kind of take over the second game. I think that these cards are pretty cool. I mean, it's kind of nice to have some old school beatdown archetypes every once in a while in Yu-Gi-Oh! And obviously the Gem Crocodile Cook cards are, I mean, they're over a decade old from the GX era. I think that these cards are going to be completely overshadowed by the Numeron support, which, believe me, the Numeron stuff's going to take over Battles of Legends, but it doesn't mean that you still can't have a lot of fun with these cards. Now, I personally believe with these cards, I think you always have to go second, mainly because this archetype, it kind of relies around your opponent having stuff in the graveyard when it comes to like the easiest of the fusion summons. Anyways, playing against a Blackwing hybrid type deck, and you know, this is kind of like the standard opening for Blackwings. I think that if you're playing Blackwings just based on a pretty decent opening, you should be able to get the Cyber Dragon Infinity and be able to pull out an Apex Avian from your deck. So it's like two negations. It's not the greatest turn one ever. You'd probably want like another card, but this is a fairly easy play, especially because the Blackwing player still has like 3 cards in their hand. So it's not very difficult for Blackwings to get this type of board, and honestly, all you got to do is just throw some cards at them, and I think this is pretty cool. I did a video talking about Forbidden Chalice and why this card was amazing. Even if you're not playing against S0, you know, throw it at a Cyber Dragon Infinity, force your opponent to negate it. He's going to do the same thing with the 3 tactical talents. This is a card that they have to negate. If they do not negate this card, you could essentially just, you know, take the Cyber Dragon Infinity and try to suck up the Apex Avian, or you could just take the Apex Avian itself. So your opponent basically has to negate it, otherwise they're going to lose one of their monsters. And at that point, you can start digging for some of those fusion monsters. So this is a pretty niche card, Keeper of Dragon Magic. You know, sometimes I've seen it used in like Dart Magician and stuff like that. And what it can do is it can dig out that Shadow Fusion straight from your deck, and we all know how powerful this card is going second. So you're seeing the Shadow aspect of the deck. But what he actually did was he went for a card you don't usually see summoned off of Shadow Fusion, unless you're playing like the rank 10 train deck. He went for Shikanaga, and what that allowed him to do was get the Weathering Soldier in the graveyard. So now he's kind of setting up to really rock his opponent. All right, that was a bad joke, but whatever. He's gonna get himself that Fossil Fusion. Now he's going to send, I believe that was Al Capone, into the graveyard, and that's going to allow him to send the Shadow Beast, which I think he searched from Hedgehog. That will allow him to send that to the graveyard and then also draw a card. He's going to activate the Fossilized Fusion, and then he's going to activate the Time Stream, which is basically like a rank up. Well, no, excuse me. It's more like a mass change. Yeah, I think calling it a mass change makes a little more sense because it's fusion. It's like a mass change essentially, but then you can activate Homeboy from the graveyard, the Fossil Warrior Skull Knight. This is the reason you see this card not just used in this fossil deck, but you're already seeing it used in like the Dragma deck. They'll throw it into the graveyard, and then they'll instantly banish it and pop one of the opponent's monsters. And because he used rank up Soul Shade Force, because he used rank up Soul Shade Force, he is at half-life points. This means it's probably just gonna end up losing the duel in this turn. But hey, things can go bad. Everybody can have a bad duel or bad luck or something like that. The question is, can you run it back? And I think the answer is probably. Let's see what's going to happen. I actually think that the turn one is going to be significantly weaker than what we saw in the last duel, which you know, sometimes that also happens. But generally speaking, you should always be able to get to, you know what? Honestly, it really shouldn't be, because he could easily link into some more Bird of Kings and then have the Cyber Dragon Infinity from the rank up. So it, like, actually, yeah, the turn one should be the same. Oh, I know it's going to be different. He's going to go for a different play. Okay, that's what it was. He realizes he's playing against Shadows. He's like, all right, Cat, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to lock this guy out of his extra deck, and then I'm going to go for Abyss Dweller, because obviously Abyss Dweller smashes the Shadow deck. And actually, Dweller doesn't just smash Shadows; it also smashes. You could say like the fossil cards too, because a lot of them activate from the graveyard. So yeah, okay, he's adjusting. He didn't go for the Cyber Dragon Infinity. Well, no, excuse me, he does, but he doesn't go for the Apex Avian Samorgling play. He went for a little bit of a different play, which honestly, this is still good. You got the graveyard lockdown, so ain't no shadow effects happening. Those graveyard effects, that's not going to work either. You have negation, and your opponent's locked out of the extra deck. I want to say that this is a win, unless your opponent is just trolling. And the spicy tech of the day, guys, is Santa Claus. Merry Christmas in what month are we in? Merry Christmas, May 13th, because that's when I'm shooting this duel. He's gonna hit you with not one but two of them things. He's gonna hit him with double Santa Claus, goes into Shikanaga, then immediately uses the Fossil Fusion. Because why not? If we hard draw Fossil Fusion, we might as well use it. You can throw again the Weathering Soldier into the graveyard anytime from the Shadow Fusion, so it does set up really nicely. And again, you can kind of use his opponent's graveyard, or you can just use your graveyard, whatever Shadow monster you threw in there. He will Kaiju his opponent. That's just nasty. You double Santa Claus and Kaiju your opponent all in a single. Like, how are they even supposed to have monsters on the field? I mean, seriously, you're just giving these crappy monsters. Anyways, he will activate Fossil Fusion one more time, I believe. Yeah, there it is. He searched it. One more Fossil Fusion, and then this duel is also a wrap. Keep in mind, he did have a little bit of help from his opponent, because in each one of those games, his opponent did use Rank Up Magic, Soul Shade Force, so he was always at half life points. But hey, when you're breaking boards like this, sometimes it doesn't even matter, because I think that even if he was at 8,000 life points, the duels would have ended the same exact way. Maybe just one turn longer the duels could have possibly went. Anyways, let's go ahead and check it out. So yeah, I think the fossil cards are pretty cool. I don't think that they take all that much energy. I do think the Shadow engine, and why are my Shadow cards all in different places? I'm actually tilted. This is trolling. Okay, there we go. I do think the Shadow engine can be very legitimate, and I say that even though this build doesn't have a ton of them. In fact, there's only a couple of Weathering Soldiers in here. Most of this build is actually just random Kaiju type cards, but I do think that that's legitimate, mainly because that Shiganaka play seems pretty good. I mean, being able to activate Shadow Fusion and send Weathering Soldier to the graveyard, and then send like a high-level Shadow monster, for instance, like a Shadow Beast to the graveyard, that pretty much sets you up immediately for you to be able to resolve Fossil Fusion as well. And then you can clearly see with the rest of his deck, it's basically just kind of go second. Now, I personally think that Extra Foolish Burial, it's good. We saw it in here, or we saw it in the duels. We saw it send Al Capone to the graveyard. You can also use it for your fossil monsters. I don't know about it in here though. Like, to me, ritual decks, a lot of times they instantly get that plus with Herald of the Arc Light, and ritual decks aren't really playing any traps at all. But it feels a little, to me, like it could be a little riskier. But obviously, you can see that this build is kind of built to go no longer than 3 turns, I would say, because pretty much this entire deck is just break board. I mean, 3 Lightning Storms, 3 copies of Chalice, 3 Impermanents, a Dark Hole, and a Regeki, which actually, let's go ahead and put those 2 cards next to each other, and then triple Shadow Fusion with 3 tactical talents, 3 copies of 3 tactical talents, and all the Kaijus. Clearly, this deck doesn't really have any plays going first, other than, I guess, Winda Impermanence Pass, or Winda Forbidden Chalice Pass. But, I mean, for a pure go second break board deck, like, this could probably pass. Now, you could obviously substitute Santa Claus for Gamma Seal, and that would obviously give you the option of not just having the same type of effect, but you could even run Interrupted Slumber if, for instance, you just didn't want to run Regeki and Dark Hole. That could be a substitute as well. But I think it'll be kind of fun when these fossil cards do ultimately hit the TCG to see what type of builds people can come up with, because I don't really think that they're going to have much when it comes to like turn 1 plays, but going second, they can be a heck of a lot of fun. Also, this is one of the few decks that can actually take advantage of Keeper of Dragon Magic, because you don't just have Shadow Fusion, but then you also have the Fossil Fusion. So you have excellent targets, and the discard fodder doesn't really matter all that much, especially if maybe you've offset that with 3 tactical talents, drawing 2 cards, so you're basically even. And even if you have multiple copies of a card that's a hard once per turn, like Lightning Storm or something like that, you can just discard that card. It could be another reason why maybe you want to go with the Kaiju engine, because Interrupted Slumber is excellent discard fodder. You know, you can get a Kaiju you from your deck with the effect in the graveyard. But it is kind of nice to finally be able to, find a home for this card. I had only really seen it in Dark Magician decks and stuff like that. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already. Of course, the deck will be in the description below, and take care.